Welcome to today's show. I want to start off by asking you a question. Are you stuck somewhere? Now, you've come up with an answer. Now ask yourself this. Am I stuck because I'm not making a decision? Very often, we don't realize that we're stuck and not moving forward simply because we're not making a decision about what we need to make a decision about. Do I hire this editor? Do I hire that editor? Do I do all this self-editing myself? Whatever the case may be, if you're facing a decision and you're stuck, you're going to stay stuck until you make a decision. So what's important here is knowing what you really want, number one, because that is going to guide your decisions. But first of all, I want to step back a little bit and talk about why people don't make those decisions. More often than not, they're afraid to make that decision for one reason or another. Most of the time, because they're second guessing themselves. What if I make a mistake? What if this is the wrong decision, right? Well, you aren't going to know which is the right decision until you make one and you move forward. If you realize this was the wrong decision, then okay, it was the wrong decision and you change directions. No big deal, right? You don't need to make a big deal out of it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Making mistakes is how we learn, one of the many ways we learn. When difficulties come into our lives, there again, we often struggle to make that decision. We're asking ourselves, why am I having this difficulty? But are you really stopping to listen for an answer? Difficulties come into our lives because there's something in that difficulty that we need to learn that we are going to use further down the line in our business, in our life, in our relationships. So I want you to remember that what appears bad, there's also good in there. Everything comes to us in a whole, WHOLE. We don't just get bad. There's something good in there as well. It's all about what's called the law of polarity. I've talked about this before. You can't have a left without a right, a top without a bottom, an inside without an outside, bad without good, a need without an answer. It's all there at the same time in the same place. So when something comes into your life that seems bad, know that there is good in there and make a concerted effort to face it in that way. Know that there's good there and determine that you are going to find that good and learn from it. So, back to making decisions. Don't be afraid to make mistakes because, for certain, fear will keep you from moving forward. Fear will keep you from making a decision, and you cannot move forward until you make the decision. You might be wondering, well, I want to start my own business, but I have no idea how. You don't need to know the how before you make the decision. You make the decision, and then God is going to bring you the how through ideas and opportunities, through people that you meet, something that you read, a verse in the Bible. Don't let the how stop you from making the decision. Making the decision will allow you to move forward. So earlier, a little bit ago, I said you need to know what you really want. That's very important because if you don't know what you want, that makes it even more difficult to make a decision about something. Should I say yes? Should I say no? If you don't know what you want, then you don't know to say yes or no. My professional development coach gave us 4 simple questions to ask when an opportunity or an idea comes your way. And I use these same 4 questions when I'm trying to make a decision about something. The first one is this something I want to be, do, or have? So, an example. I met someone at a business meeting that I go to on almost a weekly basis. And she was a life coach. She reached out to me outside of the business and said, "Hey, I'd like to get to know you better." So I thought, well, is this something I want to do? I went through these 4 questions and determined that yes, I wanted to do this. So I met with her and she proposed us working together in a particular way. So there again, I saw, wow, this is an opportunity that God has brought me. So I sat down and I went through these 4 questions. She wanted me to be a part of workshops that she gives for women. Her mission is empowering women to live the lives that they choose to live. That's right down my line. And so she wanted me to teach a workshop. I went through these 4 questions. Number 1, is this something I want to be, do, or have? Well, this fell into the do category. I came up with the answer yes. Second question, is this going to take me closer to my goal? The answer was yes, because these workshops were going to be paid workshops. And I would be teaching women on a regular basis. Number 3, is this in harmony with God's law, which is more life to all? Again, another yes. I would be teaching women how to better their lives. I would be learning and growing myself as well as earning income through these workshops. So I moved on to the 4th question. Is this going to violate the rights of others? And violating the rights of others means, does it take away their right to choice? And the answer was no. So when you ask yourself these 4 questions, you want to get a yes for the first 3 and a no for the 4th one. If that's the case, you make that decision and move forward. If you get a no on number 1, you don't even bother to go on to 2, 3, and 4. So in those first 3 questions, if you get a no anywhere, you don't move on to the next one. You immediately realize that whatever this opportunity or idea is that's come into your life is not something that you want to do. So now I hope you see why it's important to know what you really want. Do you want to help others in some way? So how do you want to help others? This is definitely a question that a lot of people struggle with because of the way we grow up. Oftentimes, the things that we have a desire to do and a passion to do when we're little kids, that we get told, no, you can't do that. And all of our public school education teaches us to learn a skill and work for someone else. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with working for someone else, but maybe that's not what you really want. Have you been working a job that you're not happy in? I believe, and I'm positive, that I've talked about how you can determine what your purpose is and what your passion is. And that's, what do you really love to do? What can you do all day long and not be conscious of the time that's passing? that is a very clear signal that that is something that God has put into you as part of your purpose. So take some time today and in the weeks to come, months to come, if necessary, and really search out what it is you really want to do in this life. It involves coming to a point where you don't care about what others say. And I know that's very hard. I've been there. We all have to learn it. But if it's a difference of living a life in joy or living a life that's miserable by working a job that we're not happy in, it's never too late to reach out for your dreams. Maybe you're 50 years old and your dream was to be a ballerina. Well, that's probably not going to happen. But what other way could you be involved in that life? So just because you're perhaps beyond the age of the typical person in a career such as, that's athletic, don't allow that to stop you from finding an avenue in which you could still be involved in what you're passionate about. There'll be a link to a blog post on my website that talks about these 4 questions. So if you didn't get a chance to write them down, don't worry. The link to that post will be there. And those 4 questions and the same explanation that I've given here today is in that post. My desire is that others would be able to have the life that they choose to have, not the one that the world says they have to live. Definitely not. So be encouraged and know that it just takes one step at a time. And that first step is to make a decision. Make a decision today that you're going to give yourself some time every day, every week to determine what it is you really want to do in life, what you want to be, who you want to be, and the things that you want to have in life. That's the first place to start. Make a decision. Because if you don't make a decision, you're going to stay stuck where you're at right now.